Hey everyone, and welcome to an all-in-one tutorial for Planet Coaster Console Edition. This is recorded on the PlayStation, but it works the same way on your Xbox. Just, take the other buttons, but I do say that throughout the entire tutorial which buttons to use. The tutorial will contain 5 parts: a terrain, coaster builder, pathing, building, and nature and tips. And you can skip through them. I will make a little bit like these skipping marks down there. You can use them. Or if you want to watch all of these videos solely, you can do so because I have linked them as well. I've got each episode also in a sole video, so if you want to watch that, go ahead and do it. But now, enjoy this tutorial, have fun, and let me know if you have any more questions about Planet Coaster Console Edition. Put it down in the comments down below, but now, enjoy the tutorial. Let's just first talk about the basics of terraforming in this game. So the first thing you have to note is that this game features a voxel-based terraforming option. That means you can push and pull the terrain to your liking in a full 3D space environment. You're not tucked to any kind of grids or whatever. In order to go and enter the terrain mode, you can see in the lower area of your screen you have these white tabs, and the furthest to the right is the terrain editor. You go with your R1 key on your Xbox controller or the dash button on the top right, which is the RB key, or the RB dash button on your Xbox controller. You're gonna open it over here. If you're there, just press X on your PlayStation or A on your Xbox controller, and you're going to open the menu. As you can see on the right hand side, we have a couple of controls. These controls help you to guide through how you want to build. So let's go first of all through these things here in sculpting. So sculpting is the free sculpt mode where you can sculpt the terrain to your liking. You have the pull tool, which I'm gonna quickly show you. Basically does what you expect it to do. It pulls out the wonderful terrain here. As you can see, the intensity is not quite well. So you can see down here there's an intensity slider. I'm gonna pull this one all the right to the back to the right side now. Just increase this a little bit. And now if I pull again, just by pressing X on my keyboard, or actually, I'm pressing very hard. This is why my controller is about to die out. I really hope it survives today's tutorial before I need to recharge it. This is pretty easy. If we swipe one to the right over here, you can see there is a pull tool, push tool, and you're gonna expect that this does exactly what it says. Well, yes, it's gonna push back the terrain, but you can see I messed up a little bit the terrain over here, and you want to flatten that again to put on your building, your pathway, or whatever. The third option here is flatten the terrain, and that's kind of handy. You just go to the level that you want, and as you can see over here, I messed up. I want to fill in that gap again, so I'm gonna go to the outside where the level is exactly the height I want to have it. And once you're here, you press A, but you hold A down, and then you move your stick slowly above it, and you can see I'm going to flatten that all back. If you just go slowly over it, you're going to fix the issue that you just created. Important notice, you may also see that the ground is changing color a little bit. This is something we are going to talk about once we have talked about all the different tools, but there is an option to make sure that you're painting in the exact kind of surface texture that you want. So keep that in mind. Don't be surprised that it does do the change now. If we go further to the tools though, we have the next thing is flatten to surface. It kind of works the same way as you've just seen with the flatten to foundation, but as the surface means, it kind of includes information about the slope of the terrain. So let's say we are down here and we press again, you can see there is no difference happening. That's basically because the foundation over here is perfectly flat. So it's a perfect 90 degree, 0 degree, however you want to call it, but there's no information about a slope, so it's not going to change. If we move slowly over here though, and we take this information here, let me just quickly show you, there's a kind of a heavy slope in here. If I hold down now the A button or the X button, depending on which console you are on, and I move this to the side, you can see it's basically sculpting from the exact surface tilt information that it got. So if I'm just going to pull that all out, let me just see. So there you can see it just completely perfectly took the information and pulled it over. In that way, you can create tilt surfaces if you want. So you can actually move that down, and we basically create like a nice connection here of the mountain, just making sure that that's a nice little area. So, that's pretty simple, pretty handy. You can see how I do this. Real quick over here, it's not that big of a deal. It's actually really easy once you get the hang of it. For me, the hardest part, to be honest, is just like a very nice control with the mini stick, because I'm not used to it. I'm more like a PC gamer, so I think you guys are more console arrows, so you're way more used to that. If we go further to the right, the next tool is Chisel, and Chisel is kind of cool when you want to make sure that your build is a little bit more I don't know, adjustable and just gets a bit more character, so to say. So chisel is basically the same as you have in clay tools and stuff, or if you are working with rock at home, whatever, why you would do this. You know, if you're a stone mason or what, you know what it is. But the chisel basically does what you expect it to do. You can chisel the terrain a little bit by pressing down. It again takes the information of the slope you are in, and you can chisel the terrain to your liking. I kind of often use this to make sure that I get a bit more rough landscaping, and if I want to make the roughness a little bit more precise. One thing to note also, if you zoom in and out, the size of the tool stays the same. So that's kind of cool, because then you can get in and get a bit more creative once you get it more close, and you can sculpt this terrain a bit more precise. So as I go in, you can see it doesn't really have that big of an effect, because now the mini stick relative to the zoom level is obviously a lot easier. So if I'm all the way out, you know, the mini stick movement, as you can see, is quite heavy, and if you go all the way in, the same mini stick movement is just like a very subtle application of movement, and that way you can do some very detailed stuff. So it's really cool what you can do, and basically in no time. It's not that big of a deal. Now let's talk about the next tool. This is the smooth option. And the smooth option is one tool I think you might use the most, because that is kind of the little glue that makes your stuff look good in the end and makes things, well, as the tool says, smooth together. So I left open this lower side over here. As you can see, that's not really nice. You know, there's a little edge down here which we want to get rid of. And you can do this with the smooth tool. Just press down and slide over it, and you can see it starts to blend in the two areas here a little bit nicer. So it kind of creates like a smooth transition between both sides. Obviously you don't always want that, because if you want to make a rock facade or something look a bit more rough like it is over here, you're not going to use that. I'm going to show you some techniques how you create stuff like I did over here in no time, basically. That's it. And then there's the last tool, which, to be honest, is the sole tool I'm not going to really recommend to you guys, because I find it's a very handy thing for super casual players. But if you are watching this tutorial to become a bit better in doing some realistic terrain, or the terrain making to your liking, then you would potentially avoid that tool. So what this does is a roughen tool, and it kind of automatically roughens the terrain for you. Let's see if I can do something cool about here. Well, it's not cool, but you can see it kind of creates a bit of cellulite to the terrain, if you will. It just malforms the terrain in a very random way. And just to show you that it's random, we're going to do it again, and you see it's not the same pattern. It's just the stronger you press, the more malforming happens. And it's not, you know, sometimes it pushes, sometimes it pulls. If you are lazy and you want to create like a rough area, this is maybe the way you go, but I don't want to really recommend that. Okay, so before we go into the next tab over here, which then is the painting, I'm going to show you a little bit more of an easy way to navigate through this, because like all this clicking to the left and right is pretty unhandy, if you ask me. It's not really the fastest way, and this is where the radial menu comes into play again. So what you do, you just press the Y button on your Xbox controller, or the triangle on your PlayStation controller. Hold it down, and this opens this wonderful circular module, and you can see this is all your tools in one place. So let's see, we want to have the flatten to foundation now. And there you go, we have the flatten to foundation, and I want to flatten back my terrain because I messed it up over here. One thing you will notice now, this is a little bit of pain of the ass, because it's quite a large area I have to flatten now. This is gonna get a bit time intensive. But now there is this wonderful option to change the size and the intensity of this brush tool on the go, and this is by holding down either the X button on your Xbox controller or the square button on your PlayStation controller. And excuse me, I'm always looking between my two controllers here to give you the right info. Hold it down, and you can see to the bottom right of your screen there's an info what you can do. So by sliding your mini stick to the left and right, you decrease and increase the size, which is pretty easy to spot visually on the screen. So we are going to make that like go all the way up, because we want to have it like really big, and then by moving it up and down, you increase or decrease the intensity. Cool bit of information here, this goes way quicker than if you do it with the navigation buttons, because it's just a lot more intuitive. And then you can just do it, and I've got 100% with this big one now. I'm going to search for my perfect spot here. This is where I am. And little hint, this inner circle is always the information of where the center point is, where you get the information from. So let's say I'm gonna hit this now on here, this will take the information from this upper level as you have just seen, and it just easily creates this platform for you. But we want to have this lower area here, so I'm going to click next to it, and you can see it always drags the information from over there. And this is now pretty simple, just like drag it all over, and you're going to create this lovely flat area in no time. So yeah, that's basically about the sculpting tools on the go, and now you've also learned how to just easily and quickly adjust the sizes and the brush sizes and the intensity on the go. So you never really have to look to the right menu if you are in. You can just go on sculpting with no interruptions, and that's kind of pretty cool. I love how intuitive they made this. Now, if we switch to the next tab, which you do with the dash buttons on top of your controller, RB on Xbox or the R1 key, and respectively the what is that? The LB and the L1 button. Can I just have the same descriptives now? Oh my god, this is so annoying. Anyways, you can see we are now in the different menu, and again, same thing over here, and this is where it starts to be fun. If you hold down the radial menu now, it still gives you an option to change between the different options here if you want to go, but we are going to just have now the paint tool. So what you can do, you can change the different texture, and for the sake of this tutorial here, I'm gonna go with a little bit of a rocky mud over here, okay? I want to have some rocky mud. By the way, holding down square or X on Xbox controller is opening again the menu of intensity and size. And before we go really into making a little bit of painting here, let me just tell you as a little pro tip, because I've played that like quite a lot on my wonderful computer the last couple of years, and I would highly recommend to never ever use intensity 100% for painting, because if you have like around 60-ish%, maybe you're even lower, go like somewhere between 50 and 60%, gives you most likely the best results, because what happens is it isn't really blending in the full texture. It's still very strong, as you can see. It's quite strong, but it just doesn't completely blend it. And I'm going to show you the difference now. I'm going to push that all up to 100%. And now if I hold down, boom, it just completely shatters it. And you can see there's like this little bit of shadow going through. See how it's blended together here? That's the nicest thing about this. And now let's change that a little bit back. We are going even less. And I'm going to use my grass again. And I'm going to make also the size a little bit smaller. And now you can see how this starts to be in effect now. If I just simply press it, again, I wouldn't hold it down for too long, because just pressing it just gives you a bit of a minor application, and then it starts to look kind of cool. It just blends in nicer, and we just do it the same way down here. There you go, just pushing that a little bit down, and then you have this nice transition, and that looks kind of cool. And you know, let's just also get some rock in here, but just lower down the intensity even further, because I just want to get some rocky bit in between. So now just doing it like that, and there you go. See, I just blended that in nicely, and it's not like super heavy. This looks kind of natural. I kind of like to go with that. It pulls out a little bit too far over here, so what you can easily do is go back to grass and then just, you know, start painting a little bit further in the front, just to make it blend a little bit less in. So there you go, and it looks even better now. Yeah, I quite like this to be a little bit less in the back here as well, and down here, so like this. And I'm going to show you now what happens if you do the same, but just, you know, use full intensity. I'm going to show you in the back. Let me zoom out a little bit. So I'm going to use this side over here, just hold it down, and look how much of an effect it is, even though the size is very much smaller. So you basically never want to do this. Now the beauty is, if you unfortunately for whatever reason have done this because you didn't pay attention to the intensity, you haven't pulled that up, or it just happened by accident, you can easily undo this by holding down square. But then what you do is you don't press actually the mini stick, but what you do press on your arrow keys, you press the left button, and this is kind of undo and redo. You do see this actually when you are leaving all the menus and you're holding down square over here. You see all the controls now down below in the bottom part of the UI, and you can also redo it in case you say, you know what, I still want to keep that. So off we go. I can redo and undo by just clicking in. But beware, there's not an infinite amount of potential you can do. It's around 60 steps you can do and undo. So after these 60 steps, it's basically locked. It's kind of like in Photoshop or so, where there's a limited amount of cache that you have of things, while all my stuff is quitting because they don't like the stuff here. This is how it works. And then the last bit we need to talk about is actually the water, because the lake has to be done somehow as well. And the cool bit about this lake feature in Planet Coaster is, unlikely in Planet Zoo it doesn't work unfortunately, you can drag out water volumes pretty easily by just going in, and I'm gonna lower down the intensity and also making sure that this is, so you can see I'm with the tool now in the water. I'm gonna press X and drag it over here, and you can see automatically the water extends to the certain area. But let me just tell you, to make it a bit more simple for you to understand, while I just want to smooth this a little bit, smooth it a bit here, so just make these edges a little bit smoother, as you can see. There you go. Just nice and smooth. And what you can also do, you can go flatten to the foundation and then find yourself the level where the water starts. Like I like to do this, to just go right below water level. See, you can see actually as soon as the circle goes above water level, this is where you don't want to be, but here, this is where I want to be. So now I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. See, this is exactly where it's blending in, and then I'm decreasing the intensity to a minimum, and then what I do is just like press to make the water a little bit more shallow over here. Can you see? You can really see how that works now. And then what you can do also, you can do the same in the water, but then I want to have the size a lot less. So we're gonna go and search ourselves some like good level. I think it's kind of nice here. And then I'm gonna press again, and then you have the very shallow like little water side effect. So see, like this. And now to make this even more perfect, I'm gonna smooth this all, but I want to have like a high intensity smoothing. Gonna do it like so, just gonna smooth this area, so I have like this lovely little bit of water arm over here. And I want to do some painting because that's water. We do need some sand. Do we have some sand actually? Let me see. Or is it all in the front? I think it's all in the front, right? No, it's kind of mud. Okay, well, we use actually dirt and mud, and then we're gonna decide upon that if that's nice or not. So just gonna do some, yeah, that looks somewhat like sand. I'm gonna go with that. That's fine. See, this is how you do it pretty easily. But this was with an existing area. To make a water bottom, it's very easy. You just go in here, use your push tool. I'm gonna create yourself a little hole, and then I would always recommend to use the flatten to foundation tool to just extend that hole a little bit. So that's what we're doing over here. You know, just create that little area. You can already tell this is going to be like a little pond. You can close that off in case you don't need this. And then you go basically here to the water thing. And you can see as soon as you go to the sides of this, there's a blue line appearing. Here you can see the blue line. And if this blue line appears, this means you can put in the water. So just let's do this. Boom, there's the water in. In this game, by the way, if you want to get rid of it, just press a Y on your Xbox controller or the triangle key. While you're on the water, you see this little inner white button appearing in your little cursor in the middle. Just press it and it's gone. Water is gone. You can choose between calm water, rough water, standing water, and dirty water. So calm water is the normal one, as you can see over here. The rough water is looking pretty similar, but if we go and look from the sides, you can see it's moving a little bit more. I'm gonna use now the calm water again. There you can see it's a lot more calm. There's no wavies going on in between. And then you have the standing water, which is a little bit more dirty and still has the water movement on. And then there is the dirty water, which has a bit of a different texture. There's just a very minor difference in between. One thing to notice though, it is basically a texture in this game. It's not a water volume. So if you go below, it's looking the exact same. So it's actually just a little texture, and that's also the reason why you can easily manipulate that on the go. But yeah, you can see this is how easy you do it. Now already guys, this was the basics about terraforming. Actually it's pretty simple. In case you still have some problems with it, just test around. It's actually like playing with clay, you know, you can just play around, you know, make your stuff working. And now we create like this little hill over here. It's pretty simple, and I always recommend to use different layers. So what you can do, build yourself different layers like that. Okay, so I have 3 different layers now. And then this is the one tool you always want to use, flatten to foundation. Make sure you use this tool as much as you can. My recommendation is just always use that to create stuff like that. You know, you just go here, this is it. And if you want to create a little bit more of an you know, natural looking stuff, sometimes you can just flick the controller, flick the mini stick, you know, hold it down and just flick it to the right a little bit, and not that crazy as if I've done, but just a little bit, so it creates these bit more rough edges. And then what you want to do, you go just to the next level, just choose yourself from, yeah, let's say we go, this is why I said create yourself some levels, let's go here. and then you do the next level, just like that. And then if you want to do a bit more, you just go a bit higher. There you go, create the next platform. And then we obviously want to go all the way here. And let me just give that little nubsy here. I want to go a bit higher. There you go, create this next higher level. And just flick it over here, lovely, and then you can just press once to create like a bit more of a rough stuff like that, lies. And then what I always do, I go back to the smooth tool, but the smooth tool always wants to have like a very low intensity because you don't want to destroy the rocky face. You just want to smooth out some of the rough edges you don't like. So this is what I do over here. So pretty much as that, you know, it's really simple. And then you have it. This is how you start doing your stuff, and then, yeah, it's already kind of a mountain. If you want to do a spike, for example, as I've done over here for testing purposes, you can easily do it in two ways, you know. The first thing I think is way more easy to do is when you go to the push tool and the pull tool, sorry, you just increase the intensity also to make it a bit more easy for you, and then obviously start with the size that you like. Just press A to make it go up, and then once you are on the top again, you just decrease the size ever so slightly. You just press again. Make sure to always stay in the same intensity because that helps you to make it somewhat similar. And then you just do it again, and then, you know, you always decrease the size. There you go, next level, and then do it all until you are at 1. So see, at the end, it's going to be a little bit more less crazy, and then you can do it with 1, which is giving you the smallest spike. There you go. Just going to create this last little bit, and then you've created this one. It's a little bit tilt because I haven't paid too much attention. So that's the way how you do it. Or what you can also do, but I find this always a little bit more complicated, you go back again to the push tool, increase the size a little bit. Let's go here, and then you push it out a little bit until you have a very steep little edge to it. And what you can do then, you can basically, let me just see, oh, this is the only tool we don't have in here, so the flatten to surface, and you go and search for yourself like a very steep angle, which I think is this one. And then what you will do, just go out, zoom out a little bit, and then you can flick it to the right hand side, just build that, drag that out from over here, you know, stuff like that. And then obviously you want to have the other side, and you just move it over and search yourself for like an angle that you are liking. I think this is kind of nice. And then you just drag it down from over here. You can do this for all the sides, like stuff like here. You know, this is fine. This is, by the way, whether it's not too easy to make a spike with it, this is the best way to create some nice little mountains if you want. This is what I always used to do when I want to create like a volcano-ish mountain, or like a bit more of a theme park-ish background for like a snowy peak or something. I want to go always doing it like that, you know. So this is the easiest way of getting the right angles together. Just search yourself for the best angle. You know, go with this one. And then when you have this, you can start basically smoothing the corners out, and then you have this nice little rock mountain face, however you want to call it. So it's actually pretty easy to manipulate terrain, guys, in this game. I'm not gonna lie, it's very simple. But I want to end this tutorial, which became a bit longer than I expected, but I got a little bit more into detail. I hope you guys appreciate that. I made it as simple as possible. I really hope this was helpful for you. In case you've got any question about the terraforming, put it down below in the description, in the comment section. Alright, so in order to open the coaster menu, you're going to press the shoulder buttons on your controller, and then we do navigate over here to the coasters tab. So once you have this opened first, you can see that there are several blueprints already pre-made for you, but this is not what we want to do. We want to build a custom coaster today to show you actually coaster build. We're going to build like a very simple one. So in order to do so, you're going to press the right mini stick down on both Xbox or PlayStation controller. It doesn't matter also if you're on PS4, PS5 or Xbox X Series or the Xbox One. It doesn't really matter. Just press the button down, and then you can see this custom, awesome, very nice overview is opening with a different type of coasters. And you can see there are all the coasters, but you can also go into standard coasters, you can wooden coasters, launched coasters, suspended ones, wing coasters, or special coasters. here's a little note for you. This is the deluxe version I'm running. So in this, there's also the classic rides and the magnificent rides included. So there are 2 more coasters, I guess, included. That just as a little note. But we are going to build a very standard coaster, and we're going to build the kiddie coaster today, which is not the dragon. We're going to do the, where is this little thing? There you go. It's the Wendigo. We're going to build the Wendigo. The Wendigo is a very easy coaster in terms of how you can build it, and it will be enough to basically build this. Also, before we start building, I'm going to show you one setting that I've done in my settings in order so you can build a little bit better your coaster. So you go navigate down to settings, and then if you swipe over to the game options, you can see there are some collision options, building options, and coaster settings. What I have done, I have enabled the coaster friction control. The coaster friction control does what it says. You do have a control of the friction of the coaster. So usually the friction is set to 1, which is an attempt to make it as much real life as possible. But in case some coasters have a little bit less friction than the game wants it to, you can slide it down to make it go easier through your layout. If you have the feeling it is too slow, but you don't want to increase your lift hill, you can use this option to make your coaster still make the layout. So then we have the option allow more interchangeable coaster cars, which is pretty handy because this means you can switch out the cars of the coaster in order to have some more variation in this. You have the crash dummy test. This is that you have the crash dummies seated in your car. I have this on. You can disable that if you don't want to have these things in there. And then you can go all the way down, and there is also another option, which is the disable track limits, which I'm going to turn on here, because that allows you to build a little bit more than the coaster typically would allow you to do. I always like to have it on because sometimes this helps you by smoothing out stuff that you normally couldn't do and you would need to have around. Basically, what that setting is, that there are some coasters that can't really bend some things more than certain degrees, or they don't have they don't have enough whatever pieces that you can intersect or whatnot. So there's just a little bit more freedom for you available. But yeah, in order to place this down, you can use the shoulder buttons to rotate actually the coaster station over here. And let me just see, where's my pathway? My pathway is over here. Let's just plop this thing down right over here. I think that's nice. So we're going to start this coaster over here. I could have raised it higher or lower, but I'm going to stick to this height. So we are not going to start right over here with the normal stuff. We're going to start with this track. Like in all other areas of the game, you have several options to hit the different tools available to you. As always, on the right hand side, you have the little menu, which you can guide through with the shoulder buttons. You go to settings, you go to the station, or you go to prefab things that are in the game. So they give you a choice of different elements that are pre-made for this specific type of coaster. You can see there are just some variations of half helixes and full helixes, up and down, but we are not going to look too much into this. In the settings menu, you can turn on the angle snap, which allows you to basically stick always to an angle so that you have a very nice layout in terms of always having the same angles. You can have some height markers, so you always have the idea where you are actually. I would keep that to sea level, so you always know exactly on which height you are. You can also have auto tunnel, which that means is that you basically go into the ground and then it automatically creates a tunnel for you. I would not recommend that because the tunneling is a little bit too aggressive in my opinion. It always creates a far too big tunnel and you are then having to dig yourself to make it look a little bit more, tight and natural. So I would actually not do this. Just go into the ground and then carve out your hole later if you need it. And then there are some camera options, and there is the camera option attached, or let me just go down, attach and rotate, or first person. So first person one is actually you building this on the go, as you can see. I like this quite a lot, especially for these types of coasters. This option is pretty handy indeed. So I want to say we are going to start in this. You can always rotate around, and if you just flip the left mini stick back to building, it always goes back. So it's kind of cool. You can also zoom out with the lower shoulder buttons as always to just have a look how the layout is, but then flick the left mini stick and you are basically back in this view. Now if you hold down the wonderful square or the X button on your Xbox controller, this opens the menu for having the banking, and the banking then then is controlled with the lower shoulder button. So you can tilt it to the right or you can tilt it to the left. By the way, this is what the option was with disable track limits, because normally this coaster can only bend for like I think 30 degrees, but without having this enabled you can also go to 90 degrees. But we are not going to have any kind of degrees here. We are going to basically start off with a little dip down, nothing crazy, and we're just going to make this whole piece a little bit shorter, so we go with 5 meters. Okay, so we don't want to go into the ground, so we just leave it basically at a 0, and then what we do, we just do some banking already, you know, not that much, 28 degrees is fine, and we just turn it a little bit to the right hand side, just build a little nice curve over here. So let's have a look how we are relative to the station. Let me just zoom out a little. Well, I just thought a little. Okay, so this is how you basically just approach it, okay? And now you can basically just build the coaster as you go. Very important note, always try to go back to 0 degrees with everything. So now let's bring it back to banking. There's also like a little snap. When you hit these buttons, this game automatically snaps to 0 degrees. So there's like a little bit of a force going on. You kind of recognize that on your controller. There's a little of vibration going on. And yeah, we can also just go a tad bit up now, and we also need to bring it to the 0 degrees in rotation as well. So there you go. So now we straighten that up, and now with the arrow keys you can now choose the different tools you want to have, or you hold down the key on your keyboard, on your controller, which is the triangle or the Y key, which brings up this wonderful dial menu, and you can actually now choose some things. You can go into angle snap on and off, which is pretty handy. I want to have it off for the moment. You can do autocomplete, which we don't need now. You can quick toggle the auto tunnel, or you can quick toggle the track supports on and off. You don't need that. We are actually needing do we have actually a lift hill as well? No, we only have the friction wheel, which then acts as a lift hill over here. So that's kind of neat, and we are going to build this, and typically this coaster is not as steep, so we are going to go with like let's say 23 degrees. Okay, so we're gonna quickly build up here, just click until you're at a decent height. Just always have to look which height we go for. Yeah, that might even be too high actually. So now the next step is, how do you delete pieces? Well, you basically put down triangle and then you delete the recent pieces, and I'm gonna go with this height and bring this down to 0. And then over here you want to change the track back to the normal track, and we just dip down a little bit, you know, not that crazily, just 30-ish degrees. Just we get a bit of banking in, just a bit of banking, let's say, yeah, the 15-ish degrees. Turn it to the left, and then we can just get a little bit more banking, you know, flip it a little bit more straight, flip it to the side. I think I really like this mode in terms of building it really on the go. You sometimes just have to zoom out to get a feeling of where you are. Just don't hit the left mini stick, because as long as you are in this mode, you can just fly around, have a look at which situation you are. This is like kind of crazy. We have like kind of strong drop over here. So we're gonna bring this now back to 0-ish degrees. Let's just flip it all the way around, and I want to just get rid of the banking a little bit here, because now we are just going to go straight, bring the banking all the way back to 0 degrees, and then you go all the way up slightly. Just always leverage the left mini stick a little. We shouldn't go too high though, but just a little, so we get a bit of an airtime hill here. I don't want to do it too crazy, just like a little bit of a hop, and then we can just go up again, just have like a little up and down section here, because I want to curl around my station here, just to get a little element for the people. So we're gonna curl around now the station, just go behind the lift hill, then go down, have a little helix, and bring this layout already back to the station. So this is what we want to do. So we have this little uphill section there, just get a few forces in. So yeah, what we do now, we are just going to shorten the track a little, back to 6 meters, go a little bit down, 12 degrees should be fine. We can already curl into the corner a little. Let's just enlarge the track a little bit, and then what we will do, we just start with the banking, because that's gonna be like a long sweeping curve here. So just tad bit more banking, tad longer. Let's have a look how that looks. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Now we bring this back to like 0 degrees, or we can even just go up a little bit, maybe like 1-ish degree up. So we bring it all the way around, and over here I'm going to flip it back straight, and also bring the banking already quite a lot, a lot of degrees back. So we are here, and now we can straighten up the layout in all directions, like bring it all back, just bring it back to 0. And over here, we want to just have a little look how the layout already now looks in comparison. So yeah, we had this little turn. I want to actually bring down a helix here as well. So we have 2 helixes behind that station, and then we go back with a little bit of a bunny hop section, like up and down, up and down. I wonder if we should have gone a little bit higher. I think we can actually, you know what, we delete this section and we bring a little bunny hop in, or like a little hop here, because we should definitely have enough speed to do so. So let's bring this already up to 0 degrees, straighten this, and now we can just bring this in like a little hop here. There you go, go down. Now we have to make this a lot less in terms of going down. So yeah, this is how you build the coaster. And now the next couple of seconds, guys, I'll just make a little speed build, and then I'll show you how you actually continue building the coaster. Alrighty, we are nearly done with the layout, and as you can see, I stopped over here at a certain situation where we do need to connect the coaster back to the station, and this sometimes is a little bit of a finicky thing to do, and I'm going to show you now how you do this. So you can see the coaster is unfinished, and we have a little bit of an issue. So what we will do over here, we will just, okay, I'm going to show you, you're now out of the whole menu, okay? So this is the unfinished coaster, and I just figured because some people I saw online had a little bit of an issue with that. So what you do right now, you basically first of all select the coaster. You do this, have the little point in the circle, so that hints you that you have selected the coaster. Then you use the shoulder buttons to navigate to all the way to the right. And by the way, in case you don't want to go all the way over like this, you can also just go 1 to the left, and then you're back at the end. So this is how you do it. And then you move 1 up to edit the coaster. So that brings you into the coaster builder menu. And usually you're just going to go, whoops, what is that even? You're just going in, and then boom, it snaps back automatically. For especially this case scenario, I want to go back, and I'm going to change the camera section back to attach. And oops, that was a little bit too much. And then you scroll over, because then you have a free movement again. So you can either go back here and wait until you have this bluish little bubble popping up, and then you could actually press just A or X. But I want to build from over here from the back, because that allows you to straighten up the section a little bit. So what you want to do, you first of all want to make this shorter. You can do the same, you know, controls are the same. Hold down square or X on Xbox, and then you can actually just use the left menu stick to adjust the length or the rotation, but we don't need the banking over here as well. So we are just going to bring this back to 0 degrees, and then we just want to curl that up a little bit, just ever so slightly, like 11 degree-ish. And since we do need a brake here, so we're going to use the actually we're going to use the trim brakes over here, and then we can also just bring them down just like 0. And what you do then, you navigate with your button, and you just want to try, oops, just going here, and then basically what you can do is now it automatically snaps. As soon as you're close enough, it should definitely automatically snap. It's a little bit, there you go. Now it automatically connects. I don't want to have this track, so I'm going to move over to the normal track, and then I'm going to hold down X, and it automatically creates the connection between these two sections. I'm going to confirm this by pressing X, and now the coaster is built. Now, one thing you might ask now is, how do you edit certain portions of the track? Because for example, this area would be lovely if we could have the additional supports over here and the catwalk, because that's the brake section and you usually have them. So basically you can see when I move over with the cursor, it has this little highlight, okay? So once you have it, you just press X once, and then you have it selected. If you want to select more, just hold down X, and then you can scroll this thing over here. You can see pretty easily, and now I've got selected the station and those 3 pieces. If that was a little bit too much for you, you just press B once, and then you're back in the selection option. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to select again, hold down X or hold down A, depending on the console. I want to have this piece and I want to have this piece. Then just release it, and now you're in full control of what you want to do. And I want to go down and say optional catwalk on. Boom, there you go. That's the catwalk. It's a little bit too short actually, but you know, for the purpose of this tutorial, that should be fine. So our coaster is done, you know, and before we change something about this coaster, we first ride it, okay? All right, we're sitting in the station and we're sitting in the car actually. I have set the coaster on test, and now what we do is hit play so we can actually have a little ride on the coaster. I disabled the HUD a little quickly here, and now we are just curling slowly around into the lift hill push tires. And now let's see if we did a good job in building this coaster. So it seems to be that at least the first portion of the ride seems to work just fine, and we are just going to enjoy this little trip up the hill. There we go, we are nearly on top, and let's have a look now how we did build this coaster and if it's smooth or if it's not smooth, and if it even makes the layout, because this coaster is quite heavy on friction. So let's have a little look. So that seems about fine. I can feel the controller rumble, lovely. It's very gentle over here, curling into that corner. It's also not too slow, it's very nice. Just going gentle over this hill, and then it curls down into this long left-hander. Nice, it just all is very easy. Get a little bit of airtime out of this here. Yes, it just dips down nicely. Then it goes back over here and just into the right-hand section. The question now is, will it make this area over here? I'm not too certain about this, to be honest, because it's quite slow already. Yeah, no, we won't make it over here. So this is interesting. So the coaster come to a stop in this area. Now that's quite tricky, you know. We could change this in two ways now. So there are two ways of changing this coaster. So first of all, I'm gonna quickly pause the game here, and then what we go out and we just now figure out what we do. So obviously that was intentional because I want to show you something first. So you could either increase the speed of the push tires in order to make it push a little bit further out of the layout, or what you also can do is change the friction. In order to have success, we are doing both first. And these two options are first of all not done in the coaster itself, because you have to go to the settings of the coaster, and then you see there is the friction multiplier. And we go in and we now tune this down to 0.8. So that means the coaster is now having basically less pushback from the friction that occurs on the coaster, and therefore is just a little bit more smoothly in the layout and continues having a bit more speed by the factor of 0.8, meaning that the amount of force that is slowing down the train is reduced by 20%. That's how you can basically translate that. So this is done in here, but in case you want to change the speed of the lift hill, you need to go back into the editing mode. So as I just told you a few seconds ago, you just go over the coaster and select the lift hill piece over here. You just keep on holding, and now we slide all the way until we have selected the entire thing over here. So I'm gonna just slide all the way up, so that we do have selected everything. Come on, there you go. Just release the button. This is what it is. And then you hit the shoulder buttons once and you are in this wonderful level over here. And then, oh, wait a second, is that actually over here? Oh, it is. It's not even in the settings. It's already in here. And then you can see there is the lift hill wheel speed. And we can put this up to 4 meters per second. So basically we doubled the speed right now, which is not that much, but this is also why we changed the friction. So these two things are changed. Now, as we have done these two options, there's actually more you can do. Now, what we want to do, we want to bring all this section over here in the back, this helix. First of all, I want to bring this a little bit closer to each other to make it a bit more tight. And then I want to bring it all down a little bit. So in order to do so, we are first of all going to change this backside section. So we are going to slide all the way to select all of that, and then you hold down the square button or the X button on your controller, and then this menu appears where you can actually manually drag the coaster around. You can see I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer now to this area until over here, and a little bit downwards as well, so that it is all not that steep, and then basically apply that. This is pretty easy. And then you can also smooth it a little bit if you will. I want to smooth the bank in here, and if you've chosen the bank in, you just can press X to do so again. So that kind of tightens it all up a little bit. And what I want to do, I want to basically bring this section over here also a little bit down, because I think it would actually benefit from being a little bit lower. So I'm gonna basically choose these three, hold down again the button, and then I'm just slightly dragging that all down. So there you go. And I'm not really favoring how this bump looks over here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slide over these two, and then I'm going to hold down again, just lower this down. And since I want to smooth it now, I'm going to go to smooth all, and I'm going to hit the X button until I'm happy with the overall smoothing, or at the A button, by the way, on the controller on the Xbox. So this is how it is, and we have this little bit of extra jiggery-ish area over here in the end. We want to get rid of that, so you can see the form factor of it is not really great. So what we do, we just basically select these three pieces, and then we choose the smooth turn option, and we press A until we are happy with the shaping. I think that's kind of nice. It always has like a little teardrop shape over here. It might tighten up a little bit too much in the end, but I think all in all that looks fairly decent. And the only thing we need to change now is this lower section down here, simply because otherwise the people would head bump in. So we are going to select this over here, hold down the square button again, lower it all down. There you go, that's nice. And you know, we still want the smoothing again, so we do select these two, hit smooth the height, because that's what we want to do, smooth it all out, and now it's kind of nice, and you can press B. Alright, so this is done. We have this little bump in here that looks not really great, so we are going to fix that as well. Go in, say smooth all, there you go, it's all smoothed now. You have this really lovely area, and that's all fine. And now you can see we have set the coaster to testing again. I'm gonna hit back the closed and test button. I'm always doing that because it kind of gives me a better feeling that this might work. And then we just go back into the camera option, here you go, and then by pressing down the square button and down on the arrow keys, you gotta activate the play mode again, as we have over here. And I want to speed up the game even, just so we make it a little bit quicker to this position. You make it down, you know, hold down square, and then you can change the speed when you hit up instead of down, and then you increase or decrease the speed. So now we are going through the layout. Remember, we have changed the friction. Remember, we have changed the speed over there from the push tires. So all in all, the coaster seems to be a little bit faster, which is kind of good. It gets a tiny bit more of airtime over here, which then is also very nice for the people. Just go over this crest, then we go to the right hand side. It seems to have enough speed for me this time. So we go around, go into this helix. It's already slowing down a little bit. It has some decent speed, and then just to be secure, we still have a little bit of braking in the back, and boom, off we go back into the station. So this is the coaster, very simple. I just saw that I messed up this, the brakes while I was editing this. Let me just quickly fix this, guys. Alright, they are back in. So this is already what we've done with the coaster, guys. It's pretty simple. The coaster is built, as you can see. The tools are super simple to use once you just figured it out. The layout obviously is, not the best I ever made, but you definitely get the idea, I guess. And just to make sure that this tutorial has a nice little ending, we're just going to go to the terrain editor. In order to make terrain, you can actually follow my tutorial I did last time. So yesterday there was another tutorial only for landscaping, and in case you haven't seen that yet, because this is a series of 5 tutorials in total, you can just jump to the info button that is popping up to your top right always in the video, and go back to this video in terms of making sure that you guys have leveraged the best out of the terrain tools as well. And yeah, I'm just going to quickly use that over here so you guys can see that the coaster is not bopping into the terrain anymore. So going to use that here, and we're also going to use this obviously in this space, because that's where the coaster would hit the ground the worst. And then what I like to do always with the painting, this for me is partly also a thing that we should do in this tutorial. I'm going to use the dirt section, and I'm also making sure that the size is among the closest to basically the smallest you can do. So 4 meters, maybe even going to 3 meters down, increase the intensity a little bit. And then what you can do is basically go below all the pillars and just press down a little bit. So it looks like a little bit of a used ground, and that kind of gives you this little extra bit of realism of the coaster. You know, just follow the supports, and then after a while that looks already a lot more realistic. So let's just already jump into it, by finding the path section down below here in our little tabs. It is the second last tab in the navigation tabs down there in your menu. Just going to press X to open it, and what it brings up is the wonderful path menu to the right hand side. In order to make this a wonderful tutorial, we are going to move all the way away from the builds I've done to show you on a blank space, or let's say on a green canvas, how you're going to proceed. So first of all, let's go through all the options, because that's always very helpful. So the highest option over here is the choice of the texture. It's basically only changing the texture of that path you're using. In Planet Coaster, there are several normal textures, and then you have some natural path, which is basically only having the ground and then some curves around that make you, have the feeling of a natural path, and then you have some concrete stuff and so on. Just quite a few textures. We are going to go with this one for the tutorial. And by pressing A, you can build this pretty easily. Now, what you also want to do, different width and different lengths. Cool bit, as always, you can use the radial menu to adjust some things. So over here, you can see you can select the grid, you can angle snap on or off, you can flatten the terrain while building the path, or you can enable curved slopes. But all these options will be important later. Let's just focus on the simple settings. So first of all, you can adjust the length of your path. This is pretty simple. You can see this is how long an individual path piece is. Pretty simple, right? If you just adjust that back, you're back at the normal piece. Then there is the option of a width, which makes sense. This is how wide your path shall be. You can see I'm adjusting that, and you adjust the width of the path. It's pretty easy, pretty simple to do. And then down here you see the angle snap. Well, angle snap is, I'm just going to build another piece. If the angle snap is turned on, you can see you are having increments in which you're changing the rotation of your path. One very important bit about this is when you build this on screen, you will notice that the controller mini stick will follow the natural way of the rotation. So it's not that you always have to put to the left hand side. If I put the mini stick to the left hand side, this is basically the maximum I can go to, because now I need to drag it down. Like now I'm dragging down, because you always follow the line on your screen, which I found super intuitive, but maybe some people will notice that this doesn't work as you would think. If you want to go with the normal front way, you just try to move behind the path, and then you can go left and right, obviously, or like vice versa, you know what I mean? So that's how you do. And then in terms of making bridges and stuff, you can increase the height by holding down the square button, as you can see over here, and then you see this little menu popping up where you use the left mini stick to say up and down. There are two different types of increments that you can use for going up. It's the one slope over here, you can see without having steps actually in, and the one steeper one, which is meant for having stairs. And then you can see there's also another little button down there. It's the R3, change the height, which is kind of nice as well. You can just press on here, and then it's changing the height of the piece. And I'm just gonna build a new piece of path, because that's gonna show you exactly what you mean. If you, by the way, want to detach it from here, you just go over and then just press just go back to the path. There you go, you have a new increment. And if you hold down R3 now, you can see I have this little piece of path, and I can move it all the way up and down, like a side to side, like a roller coaster. No, that's how you do it, up and down. Pretty simple, and then you can drag it. But if you go close enough to another piece of path, it automatically connects to it, which is kind of nice, and that should be exactly the way how it works. So pretty simple, now you can just adjust the width and just create like a pretty simple path for your likings. You can just follow building that, and it's that simple. That's how you build the path. Okay, so before I show you more, there are a few more options you gotta have to keep in mind. So first of all, people always ask for plazas. There are two ways of making plazas pretty simply. So we go back into the path menu, and we are going to build a generic piece again, like that. What you will do now, before you build a plaza, you define in which direction you want to build this. Let's say I want to make a 45-degree plaza. I'm going to go here and put this to 45 degrees. And then I rotate this 45 degrees. I press once confirm the path build. Now it's set to 45 degrees. What I do then, hold down the radial menu. It's Y on your Xbox controller or triangle on your PS4 or PS5, it doesn't matter. And then you go to the top left, this is select grid. What that does, if you move over the path, it just opens this grid for you. And that's kind of handy because this allows you to build the path exactly on this grid. You press A once or X once, depending on which console you're on, and then you just drag over and you can build pretty easily like that, you know. There's just that little convenient bit of build. You can now follow the grid and build a plaza. It's that simple. And there are a few things you should consider doing. And I'm gonna build like a little bit of a zigzag plaza here to show that to you. So let's say we wanna have a plaza like this, okay? So this is how you do it. Let's do a little bit more. So we have it always in 9 tiles. You know what, we just go and do some more 9 tiles to this side just in order to show you a bit how this works. So there you go. That's kind of a nice plaza, okay? So now this is very much blocky and boxy. If you want to have some more round edges, there is a little trick in the game. Actually, this is a bug from the PC version that has made its way into the console version because it became a feature by saying so. I mean, the concept of this was not meant to be in the game, but the computer players found out that there's a little bug. And this bug works this way. You go into a corner like this, what you want to smooth out. Because let's say we don't want to have this hard edge over here, which is like 90 degrees. We want to have a smooth edge over here. So what you just go in here until you see there is this path connecting. It opens up this bit. Okay, so you go in and try to connect exactly in this center of the corner that you want to smooth out. You build one piece and you directly delete it again by pressing the triangle or Y key. Boom. And what you see now, the path smoothed out. This is a little trick you can always use. You can do the same over here, build, delete, it's smoothed out. You can do the same over here, build, delete, and it's smoothed out. Isn't that simple? Isn't that cool? You can also do that to the outer sides. Just build and delete. It smooths it automatically out. Build, delete, and there you go. You can play the same game all over. You can just always do it. But it's important that you have built the plaza beforehand on a grid. That was my mistake, by the way. It still worked. But then you can see that the smoothing is a little bit different over here. And you can actually do this to all of the sides if needed. I'm going to quickly do this so you guys see it, and now it's rounded off. But what if you want to delete something in the middle, you may ask? Well, it's pretty easy. You can see now it's outlined. And I'm going to just delete this bit. And I'm also going to delete this next bit next to it, like there. So these two I deleted, and I want to smooth it out again. Well, actually, I can. I just go in, smooth that out, smooth this out. Oops, sometimes this breaks the path, actually. So in this case, it didn't work. I can try it again, but I think, oh, well, it worked this time. So it's a little bit finicky. You just need to try around. But then you have this incredible plaza over here. Look how simple that was. There's no further trick about this. This is just how you build plazas with the grid method. But obviously, you can also build a plaza in a slightly different way. Therefore, you just increase the width all the way down, all the way up, I should say. Make sure that you deactivate the angle snap and put it completely off. You know, and then what you can do with this thing is you can just create something like, something like this, and then it automatically should, path joining on. It joins like that, and so you have this roundish thing over here, and you can basically do the same to another side. Just completely build the same thing over again, like that. Build the circle again, and then you can connect those two things. Pretty simple as that, you know, and then you do the same smoothing trick over here. There you go. And just smooth these edges out as long as you want. And as long as the game doesn't break the path, you can do it on both sides. One thing to consider though, the game automatically creates one large piece out of it, so you can't then individually change the texture anymore. I'm going to show you quickly. If I go now to a different texture, you can't just do it on this path easily. You just have to go back into the path menu. Let me just quickly show you. There you go. And then you basically choose a different path, and you just can't easily connect to this. Let me just go down here to path join on. So there is the whole thing. and you just already changed this entire block because that now became one piece of path. It's not that dramatic, to be honest, but just consider that in case you wanted to make some more intricate path design, you need to keep that in mind, that you do not have individual pieces, but just one large plaza now, as you can see over here. I'm just going to quickly form this in. There you go. So pretty simple. There's not much more you can talk about this. This is creating a very shiny plaza over here. This might be the tad bit quicker method of those two, but to be honest, that one might be the more precise one. You just got to figure out what you like the most. Okay, and now the last bit is actually building some stairs, and in order to do some stairs, we go back into the path menu, and then you just create your own tile. I'm gonna change the width down to a smaller one now, so you can actually build one here. So you're gonna build this one. We create the length to 1, and then you hold down square, and you can build your stair just pretty easily. Click it down. There you go. And you can basically do the same. Go down again, 1, 2, and I want to have this as a slope this time. Nope, let me just go back and just do a slope. There you go. It's a little bit less of a tilt, and this is how you do that. Pretty simple. Now, if you want a different angle, you can just go in between two different angles. Just delete this piece and delete that piece, and then it creates a different angle for you. You can even do it like this, and if it doesn't auto-connect, you just increase the length, and then you just move it over here, and it does auto-connect again. Sometimes it's actually very easy to keep the angle snap on, so it's always straight, and then you can see it created a little bit of a different angle for your staircase. You can play around with this, just try different angles, try different connection methods. It always works wonders. And this is like a straight slope. This game also allows you to build curved slopes. And I'm going to show you now how this looks. I'm going to go down into the menu, and I'm going to allow the curved slopes. Now you drag it up, and then you can actually use the mini stick to just curve the slope. It's that simple. You know, it's actually really simple. I would recommend, though, to really keep that off as often as you can, because frankly speaking, this annoys a lot when you want to build some straight stairs. It's just really annoying, and so therefore I would always recommend to not do this. So we just connected this path and built something very weird looking over here, but that's just for the purpose of the tutorial. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's path tutorial. I know this tool is not the easiest to master, but with these little tips, if you do follow these, it might just make you a much more better builder in this game. You can basically build whatever you want with the pathing tool. It just, you know, takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more effort. So yeah, just put these few minutes in and you are going to master this really quick, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Right, let's get started. So first of all, what you want to do is to understand the basic concept of building. So for those of you who have played already on the computer, the building is a little bit different, at least from how it's organized in the game. So basically, first of all, you gotta go into create. This is the easiest way of doing it. Once you go into create, you just go all the way back. You go back by pressing B button on your Xbox controller or the circle button on your PlayStation controller, and then you can go to all. And once you're in all, you have all the building materials, like every single thing in this browser over here. And you have to understand, Planet Coaster builds with a dual system. They have a system that is called the grid system, and all pieces that are stuck to the grid is like having this little grid in the background of the piece. If there is a, just a normal piece over here that has nothing in the background, which is just a full flat whitish background, that's a, let's say, 360-degree manipulatable piece. That's a free-forming piece. Now, I'm going to show you real quick what the difference is before we go actually to building the house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here so you see the difference. I'm going to go quickly where we find some grid pieces and some non-grid pieces. So you can see this castle arch support over here. If I press X now on my PlayStation controller or A on the Xbox controller, I'm going to select this, and what happens now, and that's really important, you can see that there is a little bit of a white area highlighted. That is the grid. So at the moment you only see one square. As soon as I press X again, this is basically confirming that you want to put it down, you can see the squares kind of emerge. There are more of the squares appearing. So now we have a grid of 6 tiles, as you can see. And if you now want to move this piece, you have set it once, and you move your cursor and automatically branches out. You can see the further you kind of build it out, you can see the grid just kind of moves with it. So you have the option also to make the grid bigger or smaller. It's automatically set to 4 meters in width and 4 meters in height. talking of height, you can move pieces up and down by holding down the circle button on your PlayStation controller or the X key on, or X button I should say, on the Xbox controller. Now then you use your left analog stick to move it up, and then you can see it's snapping actually by these 4 meters. So each time I snap it up once, it's going to go 4 meters up in height. Same goes for up and down. Now if you see to the right hand side over here, there's a little settings menu, and if you want to go into the settings menu, you use your arrow keys as always. You know, if you've seen the previous tutorials, you know this by now. But if you go down, you can see the grid size is here, and if I do adjust this down, you can basically see how this kind of creates a way smaller little grids over here, and you can also adjust the height. Cool thing about the height is you can go all the way down to 0.25 meters. Now if I move the piece, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a bit better. You can see it snaps only to these little grid pieces over here. You can go in each direction, and that is something we are going to look at the very end when we are talking about some general efficiency tips in building. If you want to rotate this piece, so let's say we want to set this all the way here to the back of this piece, you use your dash buttons like R1, L1 or RB and LB on your controller of the Xbox, and then you can see you flick this piece basically around, and then you can just move it right to the back of it. I'm going to press X again, and this is how you do it. Now one thing you want to make sure as well, you can change the color of pieces. This works for several pieces, not for all, but for several pieces. And if we hit now down, as you can see to the top right, there's this little icon showing you pressing down one of your analog keys, and if you do so, it basically opens this menu. You're going to press down the left analog key, analog stick, and then this appears. You can see the little X appearing there. You just have to confirm again, and that opens the menu for colors. You got 2 options. You can use the previous colors, which is down here. I haven't played today, so there's no previous color in here. But you can also go and tap once on the dash button, and that opens the color wheel, which is kind of cool. It's not actually not a color wheel, but it's the same function. You have the option to go in here for saturation and brightness, and on the right hand side you can actually slide down this color slider, so to say. You can choose a different color. I'm gonna go for this little bit of greenish tint here, and then you basically just accept by pressing down the X key or the A key, and it's done. If you don't like it, you just press the Y key on your Xbox controller or the triangle key on your PlayStation controller, and it basically just resets the color. It's easy as you go. Pretty simple. If you want to go out of this menu, press B 2 times and you're out again. If you want to go all the way out of this menu, you just press B again and you're back in the pieces menu. Now, we talked a lot about the grid pieces now. What about free-forming pieces? Well, you can see next to it there is a box over here, a cargo crate, and if we select the cargo crate, you can actually see that the cargo crate is also in the same building. As you can see to the top right, there's still building 12. We're going to talk about the building itself in a little, but first of all, let's talk about this piece. You can see I can move it around as I want. There's nothing snapping to the grid, which is kind of nice, which is really, really nice. You can still rotate the piece by hitting the dash buttons, like 1, 2, and it's just going to rotate by 90 degrees. However, in here, you can use again your wonderful dial radial menu, and this is holding down triangle or the wonderful Y key on your Xbox controller. This opens this menu, and as you can see over here, you have multiple options now to go into advanced move, advanced rotate, or move snap. Move snap is something we're going to talk about at the very end. This is a new thing that the computer version does not feature, and I'm very pissed because it's the best feature ever. This is a little teaser here. Stick with me because that's the pro feature now. It's incredible, but we first of all have to understand the basics of building. Now, what does this advanced menu do? I'm going to show you. We open the advanced move first, and then as you can see, there are 3 arrows appearing with 3 different colors. You've got red, you've got blue, and you've got green. These colors will always stay the same. Red is for the x-axis, Y is for the green is for the y-axis, and blue is for the z-axis. So if you're familiar with 3D building or 3D modeling, you do know this by heart, and I don't need to explain anymore. But for those of you who don't know, this allows you to move the piece completely free in the environment, but in a precise way. As you can see, I'm moving this now completely free. If I switch the axis over here, you can see now I'm moving it up and down, and it stays only to this axis. And if I'm moving it to the right and left, I want to use the blue one. If I hold down the menu again and you go to advanced rotate, you see the same thing happens, but you just get these circles, and the one you're using is always highlighted. So now we have the red one, and if I rotate, you can see, look at that, it just completely rotates the entire piece, completely 360 degrees. There is no limit to your creativity given. Use the dash buttons to switch between the different areas. And then there you go, place it down, and the piece is just floating in, yeah, just like that. You have no limitations, so you can place this wherever you want, and that is pretty important. Now, what happens if you don't want to do this? You have, accidentally pressed this down, you don't want to have this rotation, you want to do it again. Well, you can just hold down the square button on the PlayStation key or the X button on your Xbox controller, hold it down, and then press on the arrow keys to the left, and this is actually undo. And undo is a feature you really want to embrace. This is the feature you need to use. So let me just undo twice, and you can see the whole building is gone. I say, okay, well, damn, I didn't want to do this. I want my building back. Well, hold down square again and just press in the opposite direction, just to the right, and you redo your action. It's kind of cool because it lets you do some mistakes. It allows you to do some testing, right? You can do some testing without actually running the danger of doing something wrong and you can't really change it. So this is a feature which becomes a little bit more familiar in games now, but it hasn't been in for a decade, and it's really something so useful in a building game like that. If you just accidentally press something down you didn't want to, just, learn this by heart, just, head down, just undo your action, redo, undo. Pretty simple, it's the most important thing ever. Alright, now let's go all the way out of all the buildings, okay? We are now back in the normal menu. There's nothing going on, you can see there's only a multi-select for me available right now. Now we are out of the building, okay? So what happens now if I do want to put down a piece? Let's just open create again, and we're just going to take a tree. So let's say we have this tree, just want to place this tree now next to, let's say we want to place this tree down here, alright? So you can see this tree is now floating. You just hold down against square, just move it down pretty easily, and then you can also rotate it as we go. Pretty simple, and then you just place it. As you can see, there is no building or whatever opening at the moment. This was just like placing down the tree in the game. Nothing happened. If we go back to these pillars over here, you can see when I move over, there's a little inner circle appearing. And if I click on this by pressing X on your PlayStation controller or A on your Xbox controller, you can see there is a building opening to the top right hand corner. There is an object now. Okay, so let me just quickly explain to you what a building means. A building is a group of pieces grouped together by one grid piece or by any selection of pieces. Why is this useful? Well, it's pretty useful because you can move this thing at once. You see these two pillars now? You want to move them at once? Well, you just do not go into the building. You actually stay in here in the overlay and you choose the advanced move. And what it does, it lets you manipulate the movement or the positioning of this entire group of pieces. And I'm going to show you why this is actually really useful. Now you've seen I put down the tree over there, right? So what happens if we place down a few more objects? Let's just put down a bit more of nature over here, shall we? Let's just go to a smaller birch tree. We just sink that next to it, just down below in the ground here a little bit, as if it was a bush. Just doing the same over here, like with another one. Okay, like that. Just gonna, just pull it up a little bit, rotate it a little bit, just like that. Putting this down, and then let's see what else is in here, what we can use. Yeah, let's just use some flowers in front of it, just next to the path over here. So that's pretty much what we want to do. By the way, one little hint over here. If you do not want to put that up and down manually the whole time, and you just want to freaking snap it to the ground because you're lazy, as I am sometimes, you just go to the menu here to the right hand side, move all the way down, and then you can see some options over here. They are called align to surface, stick to surface, or snap to position. What you want to have is align to surface. Let's press on, and you can see that this flower piece over here, wait, oops, I just unfortunately deselected that, always aligns to the ground. As you can see, it just moves with you. There is no problem about this. You can just, always just go here and press it down wherever you want. It's kind of a bit finicky when you come to other pieces like that. You can still move it down if you want and then press it. But then if you just unleash it again, it's going to make this again. So just always press it back on, and it's pretty easy. You can also do this, I guess, no, you can't do it over here. I thought the radial menu has it, but it's not in here. So it's easy if you just want to align some pieces. over there. So now we have done that, you know, you can see there's this bit of nature. But now if you want to manipulate one of these things, and you can see there's this little point appearing as well, you just select this one tree, or this one tree down here, or one flower. But let's say you want to move all of this. What happens is you can't, you just need to move it all by once. And this is where the building and grouping system comes into play. What you want to do, move somewhere else where you don't have anything selected, hold down your radial menu by pressing Y on your Xbox controller or triangle on your PlayStation controller, go to multi-select. And what happens now, you get the selection tool. What you want to do, go over all these pieces and just press A. And you can see this is nice. This is all the way nice. What you do then, you confirm your selection. See, we have 8 pieces selected right now. Good. Let's confirm that. Boom, there you go. And now you have a mixed selection, as it's called. What you can do now is you can save it as a blueprint, which is one way to do it, or you can group the scenery together. Now what it does, and just kind of did this real quick, I'm gonna go all the way out. Now what we've created is a group, and a group is something different than a building. If I hit this now, you can see it's called Scenery Group 1. If you want, you could also rename this now to Flower Arrangement 1 or whatever. Now, the cool bit about this is now, as we choose that and we hit down our radial menu again, you can basically duplicate this thing, and then you have the same arrangement of trees again, and you could, if you want, just place that anywhere you want next to it, to just create a bit more of a nice area, you know, just rotate this a little here, just into the other direction maybe. Oh, you know what, I just wanna have it like this, you know, just following the same line. Then let's have a look that we can just move, a little bit closer, so there you go. And just a little bit further up because the flowers shall be seen. There you go, confirm. And we've done this, you know, we've put both in. It looks kind of nice because, yeah, the trees are not the same height. And this is how you can manipulate this to a group. Groups are always very handy, as you can see. And this is the building over here. The problem about the building is it is tucked to the grid. And now that means you can only move this building over here alongside the grid, which is easy because you can't rotate it in any direction because it always has the grid in the background. While these things, which are scenery groups, they are not tucked to the grid. That means you could, technically, you can also move this thing in any direction if you want. So we can also make these trees now stand a little bit in the wind, so to say, you know, as if it was a little bit more windy here and we have this like tilt. That's possible. This is not possible with a building group. So easy to distinguish, a scenery group is manipulatable in any kind of axis and arrangement and direction in the game, while a scenery group is always only two-dimensional on the 2 lower axes, which goes to Y and X, I guess. These are the axes you have. Right, so this was the theory, so to say. Now let's do the build over here. We want to build this little shelter, and we are going to do this very easily, because I'm going to show you now the first efficiency technique you want to have in building in this game. Now, what you want to do to make things easy for you, you always want to leverage the best things, and therefore I'm going to pause the game real quick because the coaster is going to be quite loud at times and the movement might also be a bit annoying. So first things is you want to have an idea of where you want to put this. So this is going to be over the back part of our queue. So we want to cover, let's say, this whole area here. So we're moving above now, okay? So this seems to be like, for me, if I look at it now, this seems to be like a 6-tile arrangement. So we want to build 6 tiles. What I do now, I'm going to go to create, and this time I don't want to go into the full menu. I'm going to go all the way down here to the left, building, because I want to start my stuff off with a foundation wall. And I like to use me some... what kind of walls did I use here? It's concrete. So let's use, you know, let's use also the way we did last time. We're going to use some concrete. Oh no, you know what? We're going to use the lime plaster wall over here. Yeah, that's fine. That does also fit in this area. So first things first, we have to align this pretty neatly with our path over here. So this is what I'm going to do first. Going to make sure it's almost the same angle as my path. That looks fine. And I'm going to move this a little bit up just to make sure I'm kind of safe that it's lining up perfectly fine. Yes, it is. So this is where I want to do it. And now I'm going to move this all the way to the back so it aligns also with the edge over here. So this is where I'm going to put this down. And now I'm just going to control if it fits also if I do this. Yes, it perfectly fits. Awesome. Look at that. This is easy enough. Okay, so I'm not going to build the full foundation yet. I'm just going to test if it all works, and it seems to be fine. Just a little bit of a height difference here, so we can move it a little bit further up later on, but that's fine. Okay, so as I've done this first thing here, This is going to be my blueprint because I'm going to leverage the grid for my advantage. What I want to do, I want to build this full facade of this side here first, and then I'm just going to copy it around it. Alright, so what we want to do first, we are going to go to the columns because we're going to use some columns in here to make it look some nice, and I want to use this iron column here. I think the iron column could work pretty neatly indeed. So what I'm going to do with the iron column, first of all, I want to have this thing snap to the surface because I want to make sure that this is in the right alignment. So the best thing to use this for is always to find the right angle you want to have it snap to, because as soon as you have the aligned to surface, the piece does align to the same axis as the wall is. And now I'm going to go back in my radial menu and I use the advanced rotate piece. As you can see over here now, it really aligns perfectly with the 90-degree angle on this build. And I want to tilt this thing or rotate my column now by 90 degrees because I want to have it in the same direction as the fence. I'm gonna go now to angle snap because I don't want to mess up with manually placing it. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to, rotate it until I'm happy with the positioning. So there you go. This is fine. This is where I want to have my pillar standing in terms of, just the general rotation. Now what I'm going to quickly do, I move back to advanced move and I'm moving it right here to the side. I want to make sure that this is the connection between pieces. And I'm going to move it all the way down so it's just having a good height. You can always check with the people. Yeah, we can even go a little bit further down. Noise. So this is where I want to have this. Okay, fine. So this is that piece. And now I'm going to build basically from over here. So I'm just going to use some nice pieces over here. I'm going to go into all building pieces just to give me a bit of a better overview. And from now on, it's basically just up to your creativity what you do. You can use all the pieces available to you if you want. I'm going to do some wood now. And to make it easier, you can press your triangle or Y key to enable some filters. You go into filters and then you can go and search for some building material. As I said, I just want to make sure that we want to have, let's uncheck them all. I want to go and have some wood. So what I'm going to do is wood plank, wood modern, wood tile, it's all fine for me, and wood batten is also fine. So you can see, then you also get the choice of wooden pieces. It's only wooden pieces in here now. You don't need to worry about if you find wood or not. It's kind of helpful if you look for something very specific. You can always go in here and have that. And I'm going to use the wooden pillar. I want to go for 4 meters, and I'm going to go with this one, wooden pillar 4-meter plane. So you can see it's aligning very nicely over here again. So I'm just going to go into the auto rotate. This time I want to rotate it in a way that it fits nicely to this wall. So there you go. And then I'm switching back into the advanced move. I'm going to do it a little bit faster now, guys. So you should have understood the basic now. So I'm going to do it all the way here. I think I want to have like 2 of them, just making one up here and a lower one just align here to the railing, and then also just connect to the foundation just to make it look a bit more nice. Right, I'll dig that. And now we can just basically check for some more pieces. I think I want to have like a plank over here as well, just aligning nicely. I guess that's fine. Go into advanced move, just moving it up a little, and then I like this piece quite a lot, so let's just move that a little bit further to the back. This is where we want to have our roof later, and just, move it a bit more up. Here you go. And now the question is, do we want to have like a flat roof, or do we want to have like a tilted roof? And I think it would be nice over here to go, yeah, maybe with a slightly tilted roof. We got to look into that right now. So you go and basically you can see if we want to have like a wooden roof, it's going to be in here. See, there are some wooden roofs, and let's just select one of these wooden roofs. I'm going to go for like a tilted one. There's like a wood tile, 1 meter slope is fine, I guess. So let's go in here. This time, remember, you're on the grid by now, and you just want to make sure the grid for whatever I do, I always use the smallest available grid. It's for me always the easiest to go for. And I'm going to use this exactly this way. Yeah, it can stick over a little bit. Why not? That looks fine to me. I'm just going to place it here. And now I did a little mistake, as you can see. I did this intentionally because now I want to show you guys a very nice trick indeed. So you can see I have a problem now because this little plank I put in here before is right in here, and it's quite finicky to select that one. As you can see, whenever I press, I kind of select the wrong piece. Now it works over here because I found this little edge. But let's say you place that perfectly in here, like so, and you always check this, you always select the roof, you know? There's one pretty simple technique to always get the piece you want. So what you do, basically delete this piece. It's gone. Now it's way more easy to select the plank. You select the plank, but before you manipulate now, hold down square and undo your last option. This brings back the roof and you still have selected the piece which was underground or underneath this piece what was in your way. So always delete the piece that's in your way, select the piece that you wanted, undo your last action while you're having selected the piece you wanted to select, and then you can go back into the advanced move and basically just, you know, zoom in a little to be a bit more precise, and then just boom, there you go, we moved it down, and that's it. It looks kind of nice, doesn't it? Looks already pretty decent. Now, this is just the basic blueprint of the building we wanted to do. The only thing I just want to quickly do is, I think I want to have like a little pillar that goes into the middle to have a bit more of a steady look and feel. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select now this lower piece here. There you go. And now I want to use this piece. I want to copy this piece from over here and use this again. Now there's a pretty simple technique, and you can now hold down again your triangle or your Y key, brings up the radial menu again. And what you do, you go now to duplicate and advanced move. You can also duplicate and move, but that means it brings back the piece to your cursor and you have to manually place it. If you go here, it will happen like this, that you have the piece, but it stays in the exact same position, and that helps you to build over from here. It's like, I would recommend to always go with that. What we want to do now, we want to rotate this on the blue axis just to bring it into exactly the angle that we want to have it. Perfect. And now I'm gonna move it somewhat to the middle. I could have done this a little bit more nice, but whatever. It's just for the sake of the tutorial. We can just do it like that. Let's have a look that it's not really sticking out too much. It can stick out a little bit to the front. Oh, you know what? No, it can't, because I want to make it connect in the middle. There you go. Place it here, all the way done. Lovely. So what I do now, it's pretty simple. I just look at it, if everything, you know, this is what I'm always doing. I'm just looking from all angles, if that's fine. For me, that's perfectly fine. So what we do now, we go back into the building. We say edit the building, and before we do anything, just move away from the building so that your cursor has no little icon in the middle of the circle. Just press down your radial menu, go to multi-select, and then you basically just select all of it, okay? You select all of it, and now magic happens. Confirm the selection with your right dash button, and now hold down your radial menu, and we go into duplicate. And what this does, it brings back the same piece you built, and you can just copy it around and easily build your building over here. Look at how easy that works. We can now just completely go easy on the build over here. It is that simple. Look, just look at that. Just look at how simple we built this little area here. I mean, isn't that beautiful? This is just incredibly easy to do. And now you already built this. You can just, you know, just kind of make this work for everything what you did. You see, we messed up a little bit with the roofs, to be honest. And then there's the first thing happening over here. There are a few things happening, to be honest. I'm just going to show you this in a bit. So first things first. You can see that the roofs are messed up a little bit. We're going to fix this. But you can also see that we have the issue now that these wooden bars run through the people. So what you want to do now, just take this piece, say move, and you move it all the way out. And then you just get rid of the pieces you don't need. So what you don't need over here is to just basically press B once. So you go in, we're going to delete this one, we're going to delete this one, and we're going to select this piece as well. And we're going to move this a little bit because it was too high eventually. So what we're going to do, we move it once down. So here you go. And then this piece is basically created to your liking again. And so just multi-select it. There you go. Have everything selected. Confirm. And then, whoops. No, we want to move it. Give me the move. There you go. And then you move it back exactly into the position where you wanted it. There you go. And from over here, same thing's happening. You just copy it over 2 times. There you go. Building is built. Now we do have a bit of an issue here because I didn't pay too much attention on the grid. And you can see this is a little bit off because we didn't pay attention to the right axis, which was my mistake. So you need to fill in something in the edges, but that's simple enough. You can just move the whole building by just going out, going out of the building. And what we do over here, we just now use the advanced move, and we just go to the right area, and then what we do, we move it out a little bit so it's fitting a little bit nicer on the build. Awesome. And then we go back to edit, and now in order to make these corners better, we just delete these pieces that are in the corners, because basically we can do that better. We can do it much better. So you can see this is not how it should look, but now you can see the framework from below. It's looking kind of nice. It's looking pretty good. Now what you want to do over here, you just go back into the create menu, and then you can see there are some wooden roof tiles that we can use a little bit better. So this is the corner piece, and we're going to bring that to the same height as the other pieces, just making sure it's really the same height, because I don't know if it is. Let's just change all of the excess things. I think it's not quite. This is the height we need to go for. All right, so over here what you want to do is just find the right spot. Here you go, build, and then yeah, we have a little bit of an issue here, so we might drag it out once more in both directions, simply because otherwise this is going to look somewhat weird. So I'm gonna just do this, and I'm gonna select this piece and move this once more out, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to fit something in the middle. I'm gonna move this piece as well, surface, move it over here. Well, we can just actually move it again. There you go. And then we do the same with this piece. We just delete that because that's just annoying. And now over here we just go into, you know, duplicate that one, just rotate, bring it back into the position you want to have it in, and then it also remembers what you are going to do, so you can just easily, you know, select and place all the time. So, well, that's easy enough, you know. Just place these things down as you go. Just put it in all these corners that you want it. And if you're lazy, like I am, you can also hold down X, and then you get the multi-select, and you can use the add selection tool. I'm gonna select this and this, just confirm, and then what you do is duplicate. I have now the two edge pieces, just rotate them and squeeze them back into the position you wanted to have them in. Lovely. And there you can go, and this is already pretty much what we wanted to do. I mean, it's not the best ever. This was just only for the purpose of the building. You can now also, you know, what we do, we just go now to the, oops, that was my mistake. We go to the, nope, that is again, I wanted to go flat roofs, and then we are going to select whatever, this wooden roof, and we're just going to bring this one all the way up as well, you know, just placing it somewhat in here to finish off this build. So come on, do it, one and the other one. If you zoom in, it's gonna make things a lot easier. By the way, you know, there you go, place this in, easy enough, and the build is done. What you could easily do now is as well, because you can see the ground is not touched again, you know, there are multiple ways of fixing this issue now. I quite like to do it always with nature. So what I would do now, just to show you how this works, I would go now back into create, and I would say go all the way back. That was maybe one step too far. Go all the way to the left, select nature, select rocks, and then basically also clear all the filters that you can do by pressing down this button, and then you're back in, and you can now select some pieces. I would always go in and then just, you know, just place some rocks down here, just, you know, until you are basically happy with where they are. You know, I'm just gonna place a few down here now. So just that it's just a little ground, whatever thingy, and then it connects. I'm just gonna go and use these darker ones as well. There we go. That's a nice big one. You know, move it up as you go. Pretty easy. You can just manipulate them in a way you want. Just gonna bring that in here, there. Just make it look somewhat okay. You know, I'm not going to say even good, but it's the way it is. You know, it's just like try to find your way of building. But now with all the tricks, I really hope that you have a better understanding now of how it works. So there are plenty ways to get to your target, but I think this was already pretty useful for those of you who had no idea how the tutorial, or how the you know, tutorials, it's kind of what I'm doing, but how the controls work in general. So this is just how it would look, you know, and you have pretty easily done this, you know, just build this wonderful shelter for the people over here. There's no, you know, wizardry involved. It's just simple building. And now I'm going to show you the last thing. That was the one thing I was talking about so much. Let's say you want to build a fence. This is going to be nuts, guys, I tell you. This is the best option ever. So we go back in here, and we do select ourselves now some props. Down here there are some fences, okay? We're gonna grab ourselves now this fence, okay? And we're gonna bring this fence down right here next to, also by the way, angle snap should be off, so we can do it a bit better. And now we're going to put this fence down, you know, just so that we like it next to our wonderful pathway down here. Lovely. Okay, so we are going to use even the wonderful rotation because we want to have it very precise. All right, so we want to have exactly into the position where it is. There you go. And now what you want to do, you want to move this thing exactly in the same increments to make it look like very nice, right? So it's gonna be quite hard if you do it by your let's say eye judgment, you know. Let's just try to make it like that. All right, so nice. This is how I did it. It's nearly perfect. But what if you really want to make that perfect? What is when you really want to have the exact same distance between all the pieces? What you could do, you could go and use the grid pieces, right? Use the grid pieces and do the grid pieces. The problem is the grid pieces only allow you to make that totally straight. But what if when you have the same distance on a curve? Well, there is something in this game now which allows you to do so. So let us just select this piece, right? And we're going to duplicate that from the orientation over here, and we're going to bring this all the way over to here. And now I'm going to show you some really cool magic in this game. This is the best feature. I know I'm a little bit of a fanboy of this feature, but well, trust me. What you want to do now, you go and have this piece, right? We select this piece, and from over here, I'm gonna say I want to duplicate an advanced move. This brings me into this menu. Okay, so that's what we already know. I'm gonna go to advanced move. This is that menu. We already know that. Now what I would need to do now is to move it manually, or I'm going to use the move snap. That's brand new, and look at what happens now. Boom, this opens a brand new menu, and this is a piece connected, or let's say a piece relative grid that always works with the relative axis of your piece, and that is insane. Now what this means is you can see the increments, and you can actually exactly see that this piece over here is exactly the length of 4 increments, well, meaning 2 meters, because I put the snap distance to 0.5. We can even go to 0.25, which means it creates 8 increments. But let's say we now want to have a distance of 2 meters exactly, right? From the center from the pivot point of this piece. And now what happens if I move this to the right or left, it just snaps exactly to this location. So it is really perfectly fitted into the next position. And now the beauty happens. You know, we want to slightly rotate this, and we can do this. We just go into auto rotate, just go here, and now just rotate it ever so slightly, okay? Just this tiny bit of rotation, go back into the advanced move, now move it, and now what you have to do is basically toggle this off, move it exactly so it connects nicely enough, confirm, and then you do again the, basically you are still in the moving, you go back and snap it on, you know, snap the move on, there you go, and then go back into the increments, push it over, just like that, and you still build this. And now this way you can build the perfect fence with the perfect increment. Let's say you even want to have something in between. You don't want to go 2 meters, you want to go 4 meters. Well, that's no issue at all. We can just press that down here, so I have it once, and now I'm gonna go and see, this is now having the perfect distance in between, the perfect increment. Now again, you can just go to advanced rotate, it disables that for a second, just push that thing down here, and then we go back to advanced move. It automatically has this snapped on, and we can just snap it all over to the other side. Boom, there you go. You could now again manipulate that to your likings. Oops, I just rotated in the wrong way, whatever. It's just to show you. Then toggle this off, go into your axis, put in the right step. And this is just like, it is ridiculous, guys. This is helping you to make the perfect fence for the perfect situation in the perfect increments in this game. And oh boy, would I love to have this in the Planet Coaster PC version, because that's like, this is like prop precision tool from City Skylines. It is the perfect thing. And once you get the hang of it, you can do some really cool stuff with it. I made this work over here just to test this. So these things over here, which are for the brake run, I haven't done them yet, but this is the exact same thing. It has the perfect increment. I just rotated those pieces, so the increment always stayed the same over here. So these these are always in the exact same distance, and you know, if you would do this per hand, that's really kind of tricky. But anyhow, guys, this has been it for the building tutorial. It was quite long, I know, but I really hope it helped you a lot, and I tried to really make sure I go through it as slow as possible, but yet as efficient as possible. So you learned a lot, hopefully. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything else you want to learn about building itself. Now today we're going to talk about landscaping and nature first, like not landscaping in terms of terrain, but actually how you use the foliage in the game to your advantage. Now, if we go a little bit over here, first of all, it's my testing area, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the general steerings and stuff, you know. We're going to open, first of all, the create menu again. And what you want to do here is just press B once, and then you go to the right hand side to nature. Now you can see this is what nature has to offer for you, and we're going to check all first of all, and then we just go a little bit through the menu, and you can see there's a variance of trees and stuff. There are some boulders, there are some ice boulders, there's a lot of different stuff you can leverage, you know. But for those of you who know other games, certain games like Planet Zoo, for example, or other kind of park management games, or even City Skylines, you are used to having a very great choice of plans and stuff. This is not really the case in Planet Coaster. However, there is a lot you can do. So first of all, before we do this, let me just quickly show you. In scenery, you have a lot of stuff already for you pre-prepared for the game. So if you're lazy and you don't want to do more stuff than, you know, is necessary, you can grab these blueprints over here. Just go into the scenery and blueprint tab, and then you can see there are loads and loads of prefab things for you. So for example, over here you can see there's a little bush asset, and you can always use that, you know, use it to your advantage. Put it down to the ground, hold down the square button, and then you can basically, you know, pull it up or pull it down, and then you can even sink it down into the ground. Pretty simple stuff, you know, you can use it that way, but I would recommend to do it a little bit differently. So let's get started. Alright, we are here next to the pathway that I've built, and let me just quickly pause the game first of all. I don't know, for building I always like to pause the game a little bit. And we have one issue over here. We do have a little bit of a glimpse inside of the backside of this building, which is not filled, and you know, you don't want to have these people coming over here see the backside of our house. Now, what you can do is you can use a lot of foliage to help you kind of hide these things away. And this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about nature, how to leverage the best out of it without destroying your performance too much, because that's something you have to look into in the console version even more than in the other versions. So what is pretty handy in this game is to bunch stuff together to basically create layers. So what we're going to do, we just go into the create tab over here. We are already in this menu, but what we want to do, we press B once and we start with the trees in the background. So what you want to do, go for a very lush tree. I'm going to start with the ash tree over here because I want to use that one. So what I'm going to do with the ash tree is I'm going to swipe this thing down so it is a little bit into the ground, so it almost looks like a very raised and high bush, you know. The reason why I'm doing this is basically to create a layer in the background. I'm just going to pull a little bit to the side as well. So we have got two things, and you can see there's already quite a little bit of a block going on. So what I do next, I'm going to go to another tree that is a bit less lush. I'm going to use this wonderful beech tree over here because I like the beech trees quite a lot for their branches and stuff. So they look kind of cool. And I'm going to rotate this so we have a little bit more of a beech tree in the front, which is also blocking a bit more of the backside. Great, that's what we do over here. And then one thing I want to do is I want to have like another tree in the background to just make sure that there is a lot more blocked. And I'm going to use this cypress tree over here so that, you know, I'm mixing now a little bit of the styles, but since we don't have that much stuff in the game anyways, we're going to need we're going to use what we have offered to us. So that's basically what we do. So I'm going to put this one here, and I'm going to lower this down a little bit more to the other side, right? So this is what I have in the background. Okay, cool. Now, I'm not kind of happy with this how it is right now because I'm missing a little bit in the front. There's not really everything I want. So first things first, I'm also going to take my poplar tree over here because that one is also pretty tall. And what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to layer this one behind the other one. So we have like a third layer. And I'm going to do a second one as well, putting that one here and yeah, just move it a little bit down. rotate it once. It's also important to just rotate trees and stuff always, because then it doesn't look too repetitive. So that's kind of neat. So we have this, okay? And now we go out of the tree section and we go down into the bushes, because now as we have layered this a little bit more, I want to go a little bit lower in the different layers, and I'm going to use this one over here. This bush is all the way, it's kind of cool because it has these different kind of patterns, and it looks almost like a little bit dried out. So what I like to do is just put that a few times in the ground here, just so that you create a bit of a layer in front. And you can even, you know, experiment a little bit with how deep you move it in. I'm going to move it a little bit deeper. There you go. And now I want to fill this in with some other stuff. And I'm going to use for it, I'm going to use this scavola here, because this one is really handy. You can use this quite a lot to create some almost grass looking ground. And I'm going to use this so it almost just sticks a little bit out. I'm going to zoom in. You can see it's not really that much higher. It's just like halfway through. We can just go take it a little bit back. There you go. This should be enough. And then what I'm doing is I'm basically moving that around just to you know, just create a little bit of a ground pattern here. So there you go. Just putting all these things down. There you go. And maybe one more here and rotate this. Well, that was not good. Let's undo this. Okay, cool. And this is it. Awesome. So I've created this. Looks already kind of cool. What I'm missing over here is a rock. You can always use rocks and stuff to, you know, spice things up a little bit. I want to go here with the deciduous one. I think this fits quite well into our park over here. And I'm going to put this down right in here. You know, press once, and then I'm going to copy it. And you can always copy it and sink it down into the ground. It almost looks like a different stone then, so you don't need to swap all these stones all of a sudden. That just takes a little bit of a time. And then I'm going to use another one here. Let's just use that one. I think that's nice too. I'm going to move this into the ground, and I'm going to put this here. Awesome. So look at that. We have created this little batch over here of nature. So you could now go on and just do the nature the whole time as I did, which would be incredibly time consuming. What I would recommend to do is basically what you do, go to multi-select, and then we're just basically going to select all of that stuff over here, right? So that's nice. And then just correct the things you didn't like, because I, for example, have this this fence selected, and these rocks over here I don't want to have as well. So let's just unselect these if I can. They don't really, it doesn't really work here. Let me just see if I can. Let me just unselect this one, please. Yeah, there you go. And I unfortunately deselected one of the trees over there, I guess. Let's go back to plus and see that we can just plus everything we need here. Oh my god, I just okay, it's a little bit of a finicky thing. I should have done this somewhere else. Just as a little recommendation, guys, always do it in a spare place. I was a little bit too close to what I've already built. Anyhow, what we will do, regroup this as a scenery group. And now, as you can see, it's pretty much easier for me to grab this one. And what we do over here, we just duplicate this thing, okay? And then what you can do is basically use this as a blueprint. And I'm going to use exactly this. And I'm going to use this here, and I'm moving this back down into the ground. Hold down the square button or the X button on your Xbox, and then you just move it down. And you can also alter the heights a little bit, you know. I'm just going to put this down. There you go. And I'm doing the exact same stuff again. I'm going to here, hold this, and you can also move this from, if you want to do it that way, then you just keep it exactly on the right position. That is also pretty handy. Yes, we want to move that a little bit further up. There you go. Let's just rotate this a little. There you go. Right. Okay, so now what you want to do now, you can actually see already that this looks a little bit too repetitive, right? So what you do, you basically go into this building, you know, just select the building and then say edit the scenery group and just delete this tree, you know, just delete it, okay? So what you can do then in the building is just select some pieces over here, you know, just as I'm doing, holding down the key. I've got 18 things. That might be a little bit too much. I'm gonna decrease the brush size a little bit. Just going to use these pieces. Awesome. And I'm going to duplicate these pieces. You can see there's a little bit more of bush and stuff going on. I'm gonna rotate this a little and move it all the way down just to fill in that gap over here. See? That's nice. I'm gonna do it that way. And then obviously what I don't like is this stone over here, and I want to get rid of this bush too. Right. Okay, so this is kind of neat. And now you can just basically start to exchange a few things. I would love to have like a little bit more of a tree in here, I guess, but I'm not doing it that way. What I do now is I have got copied this 2 times, and I've got a very nice nature pattern over here, okay? So what you can do now, and this is pretty simple, you just go down to the multi-select tool, and I want to recommend to go to add to selection, and then you select this one, and that one as well. And now you can merge them together as one group, which I want to do. So this is now one single group. And now you can obviously copy this group again and just use the same group all over again. You know, you can just use it here. And then what I do is basically I swap it down, or like push it down into the ground again, into a position I like. And now you can see this looks incredibly repetitive. We don't want that. So what we do over here, we go into editing this thing, and then we just delete a few things. Just go in and delete a few things, okay? So this is what we've created. I don't like these rocks over here as well. Just delete some of those, just to make it look a bit different. Once you've done that, you edit the group again, and you go in and put another tree in, for example. Just go back into the trees and look what you like to have over here. I think it would be nice to just have another birch tree in, maybe. You know, just put a birch tree. Is it floating? No, that fit just quite nice. And I think because we are in an environment where it would fit, I'm gonna go and put like a freaking big oak tree in the back, because they are quite nice and quite bushy. So we're going to put this one right in the back here. Right, okay. So don't forget to always have a look if it all blocks nicely, and it really does block nicely. Cool, so you've done that, and yeah, what I would do now, actually it's pretty simple. Leave that building, and I'm gonna, you can guess it, duplicate that again. Now you have a third one, and you can basically create whatever you want with it. In this term, I want to rotate it a little bit more to finish this area off a little bit, and then hold down the square button to put it into the ground until you have a height that you're happy with. There you go, come on, just go there. Maybe a little bit deeper as well. Tad bit deeper should be fine. Come on, do it. Do it. Nah, come on. I zoom in a little bit and making things easier. There you go. And now you can position that wherever you want. So here we go. Lovely. That looks nice. This area looks a bit off over here. So what you can always do, obviously, when you just don't like an area, just go in, search for one item that you want to put down. So for example, I'm going to use this Pandarosa thing now over here. I'm going to move it into the ground to just have it sticking down like this. And I want to have another one just in this area. Lovely. Cool. So this is pretty much what we've done, and it looks already pretty neat. However, there's one thing you need to always do with nature. I learned this trick from Mike Sheets. He's like the god in terms of making nature and stuff look good. But what you always want to go and use is terrain. Never leave it as it is. Always go in, and what you do, go to the push tool or the pull tool, it doesn't matter. Lower the intensity down as much as you can, and let me just do this quickly like so. That's a lot quicker. And then do also the intensity, so all the way down, that you just have a very, very small brush, something like that, you know. And then you want to go in and in certain areas just raise the terrain a little bit, okay? So you can also do that in the background. So just because none of the actual in real life existing planters and stuff are totally perfectly flat. There's always a little bit of, you know, a difference in height, and especially around trees or so where the roots are, you basically would even try to go down a little bit, you know, because then nature has just like sucked up a little bit of the ground. And you know, you can always do this in here like I do right now. Just search yourself some areas, and this is also the reason why we use these pieces and push them down into the ground, because this way you are creating these little molds over here. And once you've done that, you can just go into the painting, and then I would always recommend to use some stuff that you want to use. So over here, this is all, I think it's all dry grass, right? No, it's not dry grass. It was actually the original grass over here. So what you can do then, go also to some mud, and then you can, you know, you can also increase the intensity a little bit if you want. I would always go with the smallest available size, or like a very small size at least, and then search yourself some areas where you want to put some mud. For example, I want to do this below the trees especially, because that's where not so much sun would come, and just paint that a little bit, you know, having some mud over here. And as always, as I showed you in the first tutorial, in case you haven't seen that, try to blend that with some stuff. And I'm going to use to blend this with some darker mud over here, you know, just making it not all look the exact same. So there you go, just having a little bit of a difference in all the textures, just making it nice and tidy and stuff. So there you go. This is already what you wanted to do. Look at this. I mean, this looks already kind of cool. You have like a lot of nature going on next to the path. My English is broken. And so from over here, you can basically copy things. But what you would love to do now is to make this thing in the back appear a bit more dense. And what you can do over here, we kind of recreated from very low growing stuff up to the trees, to the oak tree. And what you do now, just to finish that off, you go back into create and then go search yourself for some bigger oak trees. There are even some bigger ones, and you want to put them all the way here in the back. Let's just not raise them too much, but they can actually be a little bit higher. Why not? Zoom in a little bit so the roots are just on the ground. Nope, you can just go up a little bit. Sorry, what's happening? What is happening? There you go. Okay, so this is nice. And now you just push that thing to the back. Just put some down. You don't even need to go that close here. Just make sure to rotate them every now and then. Awesome. And then just mix in some other trees. I would also recommend to go for this one, for example. This is also kind of nice tree in this game. I think you want to go for the second one. I think size-wise this is neat. Yeah, and just put that in the middle, you know, just to create some different depth. And there you go. This is it. It almost looks like you have like a dense forest behind, but what we created is not that efficient. It is efficient, but it's not like destroying too many pieces. It's not that many pieces overall. We just increased our overall park by 1%, but it looks like something really dense. And you can see from the backside, it's actually faked a lot, but when you look from the front, it looks super dense and super nice. And just imagine you pull this you know, fence all the way through here, and then it looks really cool. You know, that looks stellar. If you just take that little area over here with the fence, that looks already pretty cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of how this looks. We can also, you know what we do? We just take like a guest over here. Let's just go, and then we select the camera to just have a look how the guests see this. Let's hide these panels. Look at that. This looks kind of cool. That looks cool, doesn't it? I mean, this is what you can do in this game. It looks really decent. Is there anyone walking back, by the way? No, it's only that dude over here. Right, that's fine. Yeah, so this was already it about the nature. And now, as I promised, there will be some general hints now that I haven't mentioned in the last couple episodes. I really hope that you guys, first of all, that you enjoyed all the tutorials. Now, this is like the complete tutorial now from start to end. You should be capable of basically all the tools now. But there are a few little things you should really get used to while you're building. Like, one thing that I want to point out again, even though I said this a million times, get used to the radial menu. Get used to the fact that it always has a contextual one. So you can see, for example, if I go here on the coaster and I'm not pressing X or A, you know, respectively, which console you're using, just press triangle or the Y key and it opens the contextual menu. For example, over here, you can go directly into the right camera and boom, there we are seated already into the right camera. Same goes obviously for the other one, just over here. Hold down, whoops, I should have chosen that one. And here you can see, boom, go into right camera, boom, we're seating in. How cool is that? You can also have that here with move the station and surface stuff, blah, blah, blah. You can do the same with like groups, for example. You don't even need to select them. You can just directly copy that from over here, as you can see. I don't even need to go in. It's very contextual. I love that. It's super cool. Also, same with the building. Whoops, I just not clicked on the building. This is the building now. You can from over here directly just like duplicate this building, for example. You can see now I'm just pulling out the whole building. It's super simple, and the same obviously always works for whenever you are in the editor. So for example, over here I'm now in the path editor, have the contextual menu, and you can just directly snap some things. Just really get used to the tool, guys. It's absolutely important because that makes you a lot more efficient in your building. So the second most important thing is definitely make sure you always remember the shortkeys with the square button or the X button on the Xbox key. You can see I'm holding that down, and you see now to the lower screen you have got the undo and redo. So for example, if I just go over here, you know, and then we just undo whatever we've done, you can see how we step back everything we've done over here. So it's you can also press down and just do all. This is, by the way, the nature takes a long while until the redo and undo has been processed. So you can also just undo and redo. I'm just clicking my live out now so that until we have everything built again. You can see now in a while, once this is done, you can see there the trees go, everything is done again. Then obviously increase or decrease the speed by pressing up. and obviously press play or pause in this side. And if you want to change the camera, you can also do so by L1. Now you can see I'm now in the free look camera, which makes me able to fly around my zoo, or my park like that. Sorry, I'm just very much into playing zoo at the moment again. So yeah, you can do whatever you want with this camera. It's pretty neat, pretty cool, and you can easily change back to the other camera by holding down square and L1 or LB, and then you can also change the time by doing so on pressing there, and this menu keeps being open. Then you can basically check the time or decheck the time. Now I check the time, or you go over and then you can, you know, easily set the time of day just like that. And if you want to have like a nice screenshot in evening light just like that, you can just basically, oh, this is morning light by the way, just easily do it like this. And if you want to have the ongoing continuous time model, you can just decheck here, and it always goes with the time from now on, which looks kind of cool with the lighting here. But yeah, no, I always want to have my 10-ish or like 12. Nah, 11 is fine, I guess. 11 should be fine. That's nice. And for like, you can also use the torch, which is kind of cool at night, because then you have like a light around the building, so you can also build at night. That's pretty handy as well. So these kind of things are very important to just remember, because this makes you a lot more efficient in your building. That's really cool. But yeah, guys, that has been it. Like, look at what we've achieved in all the tutorials. I really hope you guys enjoyed all my tutorials. In case you did, please leave a subscription. I'm gonna provide you guys with more tutorials in the future and more stuff that you would need for different games and stuff like that, also for Planet Coaster obviously. And now I really hope that you guys are enjoying your time, that you all stay safe obviously in these weird times, and yeah, just have a good time, and I see you in the next one. Goodbye everyone.